Students, welcome to E-Pathasala. I'm Dr. Jaimala, Assistant Professor in Women's Studies from PSG Krishnamal College for Women. The module that I'm going to deal about is the social integration of transgender. The term transgender has been derived from the Latin word trans and the English word gender. No particular form of sexual orientation is meant through the term transgender. The way they behave and act differs from the normative gender role of men and women. Leading a life as a transgender is far from easy because such people can neither be categorized as male nor female, and this deviation is unacceptable to society's vast majority. The term is used broadly to describe people who transcend the conventional boundaries of gender, irrespective of physical status or sexual orientation. The term is used to refer to groups such as transsexuals, cross-dressers, drag queens, drag kings, and genderqueers, as well as myriad other members of the gender community. However, it is important to understand that these terms are dynamic in location, cultural interpretation, and context in time, and in personal political meaning and needs of a careful application. UNDP generalized that transgender is an umbrella term for persons whose gender identity, gender expression, or behavior does not conform to that typically associated with the sex to which they were assigned at birth. The objective of this module is to understand the living condition and the social status of the transgender globally, and to understand the issues and the social inclusion of transgender in the present society. To understand the transgender in nature, it is associated with both the term sex and gender. The term sex is assigned at the birth, refers to one's biological status as either male or female, and is associated primarily with the physical attributes such as chromosomes, hormone prevalence, and external and internal anatomy, whereas gender refers to the socially constructed roles, behaviors, activities, and attributes that a given society considers appropriate for boys and men or girls and women. These influence the ways that people act, interact, and feel about themselves. While aspects of biological sex are similar across different cultures, aspects of gender may differ. Various conditions that lead to a typical development of physical sex characteristics are collectively referred to as intersex conditions. The gender transition of transsexuals. To understand this, transitioning from one gender to another is a complex process and may involve transition to a gender that is neither traditional male or nor female. People who transition from often start by expressing their preferred gender in situations where they feel safe. They typically work up to living full-time as members of their preferred gender by making many changes, a little at a time. While there is no right way to transition genders, there are some common social changes transgender people experience that may involve one or more of the following. That is, adopting the appearance of the desired sex through changes in clothing and grooming, adopting a new name, changing sex designation and identity documents, using hormone therapy treatment, or undergoing medical procedures that modify their body to conform with their gender identity. Every transgender person's process or transition differs. Because of this, many factors may determine how the individual wishes to live and express their gender identity. Thus, transsexuals are those persons whose gender identity is different from their assigned sex. Sometimes they choose to alter through medical interventions, including sex reassignment surgery, which is otherwise known as SRS, in order to make their bodies congruent with their gender identity and to live fully in their self-identified gender. At the same time, there are other persons who choose to live and appear in their self-identified gender but do not want to or do not have the financial means to undergo SRS. They are known as male to female or female to male transsexual persons. The transgender identity. Transgender people experience their transgender identity in a variety of ways and may become aware of their transgender identity at any age. Some can trace their transgender identities and feelings back to their earliest memories. They may have vague feelings of not fitting in with people of their assigned sex or specific wishes to be something other than their assigned sex. Others become aware of their transgender identities or begin to explore and experience gender non-conforming attitudes and behaviors during adolescence or much later in life. Some embrace their transgender feelings while others struggle with feelings of shame or confusion. Those who transition later in life may have struggled to fit in adequately as their assigned sex only to later face dissatisfaction with their lives. Some transgender people, transsexuals in particular, experience intense dissatisfaction with their sex assigned at birth, physical sex characteristics, or the gender roles associated with that sex. These individuals often seek gender affirming treatments. Types of transgender people. Many identities fall under the transgender umbrella. The term transsexuals refers to people whose gender identity is different from their assigned sex. Often transsexual people alter or wish to alter their bodies through hormones, surgery and other means to make their bodies as congruent as possible with their gender identity. This process of transition through medical intervention is often referred to as sex or gender reassignment, but more recently it is also referred to as gender affirmation. People who were assigned female but identify and live as male and alter or wish to alter their bodies through medical intervention to more closely resemble their gender identity are known as transsexual men or trans men. Conversely, people who are assigned male but identify and live as female and alter or wish to alter their bodies through medical intervention to more closely resemble their gender identity are known as transsexual women or trans women. People who cross-dress wear clothing that is traditionally or stereotypically worn by another gender in their culture. They vary in how completely they cross-dress from one article of clothing to fully cross-dressing. Those who cross-dress are usually comfortable with their assigned sex and do not wish to change it. Cross-dressing is a form of gender expression and is not necessarily tied to erotic activity. Cross-dressing is not indicative of sexual orientation. The degree of social acceptance for cross-dressing varies for males and females. In some culture, one gender may be given more latitude than another for wearing clothing associated with a different sex. The term drag queens generally refers to men who dress as women for the purpose of entertaining others at bars, clubs, or other events. The term drag kings refer to women who dress as men for the purpose of entertaining others at bars, clubs, or other events. Genderqueer is a term that some people who identify their gender as falling outside the binary construct of male and female. They may define their gender as falling somewhere on a continuum between male and female, or they may define it as wholly different from these terms. They may also request that pronouns be used to refer to them that are neither masculine nor feminine, such as ze instead of he or she, or her instead of his or her. Some genderqueer people do not identify as transgenders, since they are all only cross-dressers. Other categories of transgender people identified are androgynous, multigender, gender non-conforming, third gender, and two-spirit people. Exact definitions of these terms vary from person to person and may change over time, but often include a sense of blending or alternating genders. Some people who use these terms to describe themselves see traditionally binary concepts of gender as restrictive. To understand the global scenario of transgender irrespective to the UN Declaration of Promoting and Protection of Transgender Persons, transgender people of racial, ethnic, or religious minority backgrounds, transgender people of lower socioeconomic status, transgender people with disabilities, transgender youth, transgender elderly, and others experience discrimination in almost all parts of the world. Transgender people confront institutionalized discrimination all over the world in areas of everyday life such as healthcare, housing, employment, education, and legal recognition in their true gender. Experiencing discrimination may cause significant amounts of psychological stress, often leaving transgender individuals to wonder whether they were discriminated against because of their gender identity or gender expression, another socio-cultural identity, or some combination of all of these. Council of Europe reports that in the year 2009, a number of countries, the problem starts at the level of official recognition. Transgender persons who no longer identify with their birth gender seek changes to their birth certificates, passports, and the other documents, but often encounter difficulties. This in turn leads to a number of very concrete problems in daily life when showing one's ID papers in the bank or in the post office, when using a credit card or crossing borders in the United Kingdom. Male to female transgender persons have been struggling to get their gender status accepted for the purpose of pension benefits. Inclusion of a transgender person. Today, several countries worldwide allow individuals to register as a third gender. in Nepal in the year 2011 census was the first national census in the world to allow people to register as a gender other than male or female. In November 2013, Germany became the first European country to allow parents of babies born with no clearly defined gender characteristics to leave the male or female field in birth certificates blank, creating a third sex category in the public register. As adults, German intersex individuals will soon be spared the necessity to conform the conventional gender framework, as the current two options of entering either male or female in passport gender fields will be officially supplemented by a third option as X. This kind of three-gender choice system was introduced in Australia too in the year 2011. In some European countries, it has now become possible to correct official records and obtain a new first name. However, in other countries, a change of birth certificate is simply not allowed. In a large number of Council of Europe member states, such changes are permitted only upon proof that the gender person has been sterilized or declared infertile or has undergone other medical procedures such as gender reassignment surgery or hormone treatment. In the countries of US, the national federal government policy recommends to treat all of its employees with dignity and respect, and to provide a workplace that is free from discrimination, whether that discrimination is based on race, color, religion, or sex, nation origin, disability, political affiliation, their marital status, membership in any employee organization, age, sex orientation, or other non-merit factors. Transgender in India. The Hindu 2011 reports that India has an estimated 500,000 transgender people known as Hijiras, who can be unisex, intersex, or transgender. They have been part of South Asia's culture for thousands of years. Unisex are celebrated in sacred Hindu texts such as the Mahabharata and the Kama Sutra. The concept of Tritya Prakriti or Napumsaka has been an integral part of the Hindu mythology, folklore, epic, and early Vedic and Purana literature. These terms has been used to denote absence of procreative capability, thereby signifying difference from masculine and feminine markers. Thus, some of the early texts extensively dealt with issues of sexuality, and the notion of third gender was an established idea therein. Indian culture and history has representations of transgender individuals even in the age-old scripts and sculptures. In fact, the Jain texts even mention the concept of psychological sex, which emphasize the psychological makeup of an individual distinct from their sexual characteristics. The position of transgenders in Mughal rule. Hijras played a prominent role in the royal courts of the Islamic world, especially in the Ottoman empires and the Mughal rule in the medieval India. They rose to eminent positions as political advisors, administrators, generals, as well as guardians of the harems. Hijras were considered clever, trustworthy, and fiercely loyal, and had free access to all spaces and sections of population, thereby playing a crucial role in the politics of empire building in the Mughal era. The Hijras also occupied high positions in the Islamic religious institutions, especially in guarding the holy places of Mecca and Medina. Status of transgenders during the colonial rule. With the onset of colonial rule from the 18th century onwards, the situation changed drastically. Accounts of the early European travelers show that they are repulsed by the sight of Hijras and could not understand why they were given so much respect in the royal courts and other institutions. In the second half of the 19th century, the British colonial administration actively sought to criminalize the Hijra community and to deny them the civil rights. Hijras were considered to be distinct castes or tribe in different parts of India by the colonial administration. Their social mores and gender roles were considered deviant. Transgender identities that exist in India. There are different forms of identity that exist in India. One is Hijras. Hijras are biological males who reject their masculine identity in due course of time to identify either as women or not men, or in between men and women, or neither men nor women. Hijras can be considered as a Western equivalent or transgender transsexuals, that is male to female persons. But Hijras have a long tradition and culture and have strong social ties formalized through a ritual called Reeth, that is becoming a member of Hijra community. There are regional variations in the use of terms referred to Hijras, for example, Kinnars in Delhi and Aravanis in Tamil Nadu. Hijras may earn through their traditional work, that is badai, clapping their hands and asking for alms, blessing newborn babies, or dancing in ceremonies. Some portion of Hijras engage in sex work for lack of other job opportunities, while some may be self-employed or work for non-governmental organization. Aravanis, they are otherwise called as Tirunangai. Hijras in Tamil Nadu identified as Aravani. The term Aravani is considered a dignified term for transgender in Tamil Nadu as compared to derogatory terms such as Ali, etc. The Tamil Nadu Aravanigal Welfare Board, a state government's initiative under the Department of Social Welfare, defines Aravanis as biological males who self-identify themselves as a woman trapped in a male's body. Some Aravani activists want the public and media to use the term Tirunangai to refer to Aravanis. Kothis. Kothis are defined as heterogeneous group. Kothis can be described as biological males who show varying degrees of femininity, which may be situational. Some proportions of Kothis have bisexual behavior and get married to a woman. Kothis are generally of lower socioeconomic status and some engage in sex work for survival. Some proportion of Hijra identified people may also identify themselves as Kothis, but not all Kothi identified people identify themselves as transgender or Hijras. There are three types of transgenders: Nirvan Kothi, who have been operated upon; Aqua Kothi, who have not undergone sex change operations; and cross-dressers. Jogtas or Jogapas. Jogtas or Jogapas are those persons who are dedicated to and serve as a servant of goddess Renuka Devi, whose temples are present in Maharashtra and Karnataka. Jogta refers to male servant of that goddess, and Jogti refers to female servant, who is also sometimes referred to as Devadasi. One can become a Jogta or Jogti if it is part of their family tradition, or if one finds a guru, who is otherwise known as Pujari, who accepts him or her as a Sishya. Sometimes the term Jogti Hijras is used to denote those male to female transgender persons who are devotees of goddess Renuka Devi and who are also in the Hijra community. This term is used to differentiate them from Jogtas, who are heterosexuals and who may or may not dress in women's attire when they worship the goddess. Also, the term differentiates them from Jogtis, who are biological females dedicated to the goddess. However, Jogti Hijras may refer to themselves as Jogti, that is female pronoun, or Hijras, and even sometimes as Jogtas. Shiva Shaktis. Shiva Shaktis are considered as male, considering close to goddess, and have feminine gender expression. Usually, Shiva Shaktis are inducted into the Shiva Shakti community by senior gurus who teach them the norms, customs, and rituals to be observed by them. In a ceremony, Shiva Shaktis are married to a sword that represents male power or Shiva deity. Shiva Shaktis thus become the bride of the sword. Occasionally, Shiva Shaktis cross-dress and use accessories and ornaments that are generally socially meant for women. Most people in this community belong to lower socioeconomic status and earn for their living as astrologers, soothsayers, and spiritual healers. Kuvagam festival in India, which is meant for the transgender persons in India. Kuvagam festival is the festival celebrated by the transgender people, especially in Tamil Nadu. Kuvagam festival is held every year during a Chitra Purnima, that is a full moon day in the month of April, to worship the festival of Lord Aravan. The temple of Lord Aravan is situated in the Kuvagam village in Ulundurpet Taluk of Viluppuram district, Tamil Nadu. Hijras, transgender, effeminate gay men, cross-dressers, and many people from the queer community across India and many Asian countries visit this Viluppuram temple during the festival occasion. The act of Hijras worshipping and marrying Lord Aravan created Aravani identity. The term Aravani literally means one who worships Lord Aravan. Transgender people regard Kuthandava, the principal deity of this particular temple, as their husband and worship him. Kuthandava is the common name given to the Aravan, the son of Pandava prince Arjuna, appears in the epic Mahabharata. They hold the festival at the time every year to commemorate the sacrifice of Aravan. According to folklore, a human sacrifice was required to win the Mahabharata war. The male required for sacrifice was expected to possess 36 male characteristics known as Samudriga Lakshanam. Only Arjun and his son Lord Aravan had these characteristics. Arjun was the main hero in the war, and hence Lord Aravan was chosen for the sacrifice. Lord Aravan was a bachelor, and he expressed his desire to marry before his death. No king was ready to give his daughter, knowing the fact that he will die the next day after his sacrifice. In order to ease the situation, Lord Krishna took form of a woman and married Lord Aravan. The next day, Lord Aravan was sacrificed. After his death, Lord Krishna as a woman underwent the ritual of attaining widowhood. Aravanis considered themselves descendants and form of Lord Krishna, and hence they visit Kuvagam temple every year to marry Lord Aravan. Aravanis mourn and weep the death of their husband Lord Aravan when he is sacrificed the next day, and they also undergo the rituals of attaining widowhood. The festival lasts for 16 days, symbolizing the war between the Pandava and the Kauravas. The festival, which will conclude on May, will feature beauty pageants for the transgender people, hosting by different non-government organizations with the support of the Tamil Nadu government. On the penultimate day, transgender people will follow all elements of the country's old ritual to get their thalis or the Mangal Sutra tied by the temple priest, declaring Aravan as their husband. The wedding will be followed by wild celebrations until dawn. The presiding deity of the temple will be taken in a procession on the last day of the festival. The festival will conclude with the breaking of the thalis and bangles as the transgender people mourn the death of Aravan. Social exclusion of transgender people in India. UNDP 2000 reported that in general, Indians tolerate, accept and respect a wide range of differences in culture, religion, language and custom. Despite Indian society's general climate of acceptance and tolerance, there appears to be limited public knowledge and understanding of the transgender persons. The uphill struggle for the transgender person first begins with finding acceptance within the family. Once the truth is out, they are usually forced to leave the family home, yet the society they must take refuge in is equally as unwelcoming. Exclusion from the family and society. Most of the families not accept if their child's behavior in ways that are considered inappropriate to the expected gender roles as male or female. Thereby, they are the victims of humiliation and discrimination that happens to them in various spheres of their life caused by the society. Transgender communities face a variety of social security issues. Since most hijras run away or evicted from home, they do not expect support from their biological family in the long run. Subsequently, they face a lot of challenges, especially when they are not in the position to earn or has decreased earning capacity due to health concern, lack of employment opportunities or old age. Lack of livelihood options is a key reason for the significant proportion of transgender people to choose or continue to be in the sex work. The political participation of transgender. Transgender people now have the option to vote as a woman or other. Tamil Nadu, which has some of the most progressive measures for the transgender community in the country. The Tamil Nadu High Court has ordered the government to ensure wide publicity through electronic and print media that transgenders are entitled to get registered in electoral rolls, and the Education Department has created a third category for admission in the educational institutions. The government has also provided for small loans and training for transgender self-help groups. Transgender people identified as a separate sex in India. Supreme Court of India ruled that transgender people would be recognized on official documents under a separate third gender category. Until the law was passed, the transgender people had to register as either male or female. The law is actually more wide-ranging than this because it means anyone can change their gender on official documents to male, female or transgender depending on their self-identity. The term self-identity is crucial here. Transgender people in India don't need to undergo any surgical or medical intervention to change their gender on official documents. The Office of the Registrar General of India said, based on the recommendation of the Technical Advisory Committee, that transgender would be given separate code as 3 in the census 2011. The TAC had proposed that during census, male would be given code 1, female 2, and for transgender it would be code 3, which has been accepted by the government. But this could be reported only when the transgender wishes other than the code 1 and 2, and thus left at the choice of transgender to opt for code 3. In the latest findings from Census India, it has now been calculated that India currently has 490,000 citizens who identify as transgender. What is interesting to note is the fact that 55,000 transgender were in the age of 0 to 6 years, signifying how parents are willing to reveal the gender identity of their children, unthought of it a while ago. The figure of 49,000 is based on the number of people who have self-identified as transgender or those children whose parents identified them as transgender, hence giving scope for the speculation that the actual numbers may be a lot more. transgender as a third sex identified by the government of Tamil Nadu. Aravanis in Tamil Nadu appear in feminine attire, dress in saris, give themselves feminine names, and refer to each other in female kinship terms. After becoming Aravanis, most of them leave their natal homes and join the Aravani community. They are ignored by their natal families, especially their male kin, and not offer material as well as emotional support to each other. Aravanis are more than cross-dressers. Many go through a sex change operation or take hormones to become a perfect female, and mostly become sex workers. They too have the practice of maintaining a monogamous relationship with a man they call a husband. Most of these transgender persons are poorly educated. They discontinue their schooling due to the constant bullying by their peers. Moreover, they had no separate identity and could enroll in colleges only as male. Thereby, they often went through the trauma of being forced to study in a men's college where they are routinely harassed. In tune with the Tamil Nadu governor's address in the Legislative Assembly in the year 2008, expressing concern about the welfare of the transgender and announcing a number of welfare measures like the issue of ration cards, free surgeries in government hospitals, and the establishment of a welfare board. For the first time in the country, a government order has been issued by an education department of state government creating a third gender category for admission in educational institutions. Thereby, the government and aided colleges will have to admit transgender, and they will share 30% of the seats reserved for the women, transgender women. A newly designed application form for the undergraduate courses will include transgender as a separate category, thus permitting these students to join any college of their choice, co-educational men or women colleges. In December 2006, the Tamil Nadu government passed an order saying that no educational institution or government organization could discriminate against someone on the basis of them being a transgendered person. Government is issuing separate food ration card, family card for the transgender people, a pioneering institution for helping this marginalized community. This has proved to be one of the major and social security because it is issued to every individual transgender without demanding for the names of the family members or the details about their early family card. Transgender people in Tamil Nadu in Chennai have now been granted the choice to choose T instead of the standard male and female. This now allows the estimated 40,000 people who identify as transgender in Chennai to legally be in a slightly better position as the government rolls out the new plans. Transgender people are now able to identify as a third gender when applying for the ration cards and welfare schemes without emotion, trauma, or embarrassed. This was a statistics found in the year 2008. Some of the other state government welfare measures are transgender welfare policies, statewide census of the Aravani population, transgender identity card, transgender Kalenya health scheme, transgender voter identity card, transgender educational assistance, transgender family card, transgender free sex reassignment surgery, transgender integrated housing facility, senior transgender financial assistance, transgender special self-help group, loans for self-employment and employment assistance, temporary housing facility, transgender Kurai Thirkum Mandram. Tamil Nadu Aravanigal Welfare Board are the Transgender Welfare Board. To address the issues faced by transgender people, the government of Tamil Nadu established a Transgender Welfare Board in the year 2008. Social Welfare Minister serves as the president of the board. This effort is rooted to be the first in India and even in the world. Appointed to the board are the Secretaries of Law and Finance and senior officials heading various agencies like Women's Commission, Police and State Human Rights and Social Justice Commissions. In addition, 8 transgender people have been included as non-official members of the board. It is the first of its kind by any state government in India. Social Welfare Minister serves as the president of the board. This effort is touted to be the first in India and even in the whole Asia Pacific region. The board would potentially address a variety of concerns of transgender people that includes education, income generation and other social security measures. As a first step, the board has conducted the enumeration of the transgender population in all 32 districts of Tamil Nadu, and in some places identity cards with the gender 3 mentioned as Aravani are being issued, which was stated in the UNDP 2010 report. To conclude, transgender culture has been part of the Indian community for centuries. Unfortunately, they face extreme discrimination in health, housing, education, employment, law, etc., facing severe harassment with little or no opportunity for conventional jobs. Most of them earn an income by performing at Hindu religious ceremonies and celebrations, or by begging and also in sex work. It is not only the issue of social exclusion but also the livelihood issues of transgender that need to be focused. Indisputably, the most marginalized and ostracized community, transgender needs special quotas if they are to emerge from the shadows. Today, there seems to be an alter in the traditional Indian mindset. There seems to be both subtle and appreciable changes taking place in terms of how this group are being treated and recognized by mainstream society. Over the last few years, India has seen improvement in the lives of transgender women. There are transgender fashion models and transgender television presenters. Yet these developments come after years of crushing social stigmatization, abuse, and general disrespect from the wider community. Unless they are able to integrate with the mainstream social order and share experiences with the general community, the current stigma will not disappear. Being a visible minority and a part of India's background group of people, there are attempts to get them into the other backward classes group. Tamil Nadu has shown the way by taking the first step in this direction. The existing new law alone won't change the discrimination that many transgender people face. They need to be included in mainstream of the society. Thank you.